Well, hello, and welcome to the Lockhart Radio Podcast. I am your host, Felicia Lockhart, and today we are asking the questions: why are Christians angry at the Olympics? What's really the problem? I don't get it. I just don't get it. And I've been trying to understand, and I guess you're probably wondering why it's hard for me to get it. Well, the stories that I've lined up for us this evening just might make it a little more understandable as to why I'm having a hard time getting it. I'm going to tell you why I don't get it. You want to know why? Want me to let you in on a little secret as to why I'm confused? I am confused because the Christian church has become every single thing that they showed. Felicia, that's not nice. How are you going to say that? Easily with this mouth and the evidence that I have to share with you and all these little bitty tabs that I've got spread across the screen. Yeah, I'm going to show you. And I want you guys to make sure that you hit the like button, subscribe if you are not a subscriber. If you get the chance to watch one of those commercials that pop in that YouTube so eloquently places, do that. That can help us out a lot. Then, if you also like to leave a super chat, you can do that, and those will be read first today. All right, guys, here we go. Let's get into the show. Here we go. Here we go. Hey, everyone, it's me, Felicia, of the Lockhart Perspective and Headlines with a Voice. I want to tell you a little secret. This is what I used to do because I don't do it anymore. I would go to the store, buy the barbecue sauce, pour it inside of a bowl, put a whole bunch of different spices, a dash of brown sugar, a dash of maple, and a dash of mustard, stir it all around, and everybody would be like, oh my gosh, this is the best, this is the best. But I was exhausted after all of that, and a lot of times I couldn't remember how many dashes of what I put in it. But I don't have to do that anymore because now I just go to Judge Joe Brown's website and I order his 3-pack of bottled barbecue sauce. It is by far the best, and I do mean the best barbecue sauce I've ever eaten. And when you go to his website and you order his 3-pack, you'll see exactly what I mean. Head on over to jjbbbbq.com and order Judge Joe Brown's barbecue sauce. You'll be glad you did, and you're going to tell me about it. I know you will. All right, so you see on the screen there, it says, be not deceived, and that's an excerpt of a scripture. Be not deceived, for God is not mocked. That which a man sows, that shall he also reap. The scripture is absolutely correct, and the caption is absolutely correct. You know what the problem is? The problem is that the church has been compromised and it has not lived up to what their values are. If you really honestly look at it for what it's worth, every single thing that's going on in the world is absolutely in the quote unquote Christian church. Oh, please save your apples. Save your apples. Don't be running past me doing a fruit buy, throwing your apples and your oranges and all of your other rotten fruit. Keep it, because I'm about to share with you exactly what this article has to say. And it comes from the christianpost.com. So let's just go on over there and look at it. Quote, Be not deceived. Christians react to the drag Last Supper debauchery at Paris Olympic ceremony. Golden calf, Antichrist, sexual promiscuity, alarm viewers. All of it. It just made them all upset. Look at that. Everybody is angry. Everybody's, look at this. Just look at it. Just look at it. Let's take a gander, shall we? Because you know they removed the whole entire opening ceremony because all of their advertisers decided to pull out. But look at it. It's an array of all kinds of stuff going on. It reminds you exactly what happened in the book of Genesis. Oh, but I forgot. Most folks don't like the Old Testament. So I digress. Christians expressed offense at the debauchery celebrated during the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games in Paris that showed a menage a trois and a depiction of the Last Supper with drag queens as Jesus's disciples, among other symbols that rankled the viewers. One performance at the ceremonies that caused significant offense on Friday afternoon was a depiction of Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper that portrays Jesus' last meal with his disciples before his betrayal, arrest, and crucifixion. The song King played loudly as a lesbian wearing a crown was depicted as Jesus surrounded by men in drag. one of whom was a bearded man with long blonde hair, who later danced suggestively down the catwalk, much like a stripper would do. The catwalk was in front of the Last Supper table where a young girl stood near the men in drag. Now, you see it, I see it. There it is again. Now, this page here on Twitter is Tara Bull at Tara Bull 808. It says people are calling for the Olympics to be boycotted over their opening ceremonies. What do you think? And then it shows it, and there's a juxtaposition with the Last Supper, all of the above. The offensive parody of the Last Supper, Mark 14:17 through 26, featured drag queens and other actors who stood in poses inverted from the Da Vinci painting. And it was set on a bridge over the Seine River that overlooks the Eiffel Tower, whatever. In response to the display that some social commentators described as blasphemous and satanic, Harrison Butker, a kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs, shared the Bible verse from Galatians 6 through 7:8 in a post on X. Be not deceived, God is not mocked. For what a man sows, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth in the flesh shall reap also in the flesh corruption. But he that soweth in the spirit of the spirit shall reap everlasting life. Abby Johnson, host of the Politely Rude podcast and the former Planned Parenthood clinic director turned women's advocate, also rebuked the depiction of Jesus and his disciples, writing on X, quote, "It's crazy how they openly degrade and mock our beliefs, then call us intolerant." Well, she's absolutely right in what she has to say. As a matter of fact, everybody is absolutely right in what they have to say. With that said, I'm right too, because what I want to share with you is the following stories that tell us exactly how we got here. When we were Christians, all of us who were at one time and may still be Christians, okay, we aligned ourselves to everything that Catholic Rome had to offer. Every single thing. The only problem was somewhere along the line, we sort of got butted and sort of kicked up into a different timeline. Well, the timeline that I remember was me cooking breakfast and supper at the exact same time while I got my 4 children ready for church. My husband was in the shower. I was cooking the food. I was getting the kids ready, and I had supper on at the same time. We'd go to Sunday school, then we go to 11 o'clock service, come back home, eat the dinner, and then we change our clothes and go back to service at 3 o'clock and stay there until the wee hours of the night. The kids would be stretched out all across the stretcher, the back seat, all the way in the back seat of the church, the back pews. They'd be stretched out. Then on Tuesday, we do it all over again. Wednesday, we'd have Bible study, do it all over again. Thursday, when I had choir practice, you guessed it, we did it all over again. But those were different times. These types of things that I'm about to share with you would shock the socks off of everyone if it were back in the 80s and back in the 90s. Although these things were the slow rumbling embers going on at that time, it wasn't not nearly what we see now. I want to invite everybody that's watching, before we get into the actual clips and everything else that we have to share today, please become a subscriber of the channel. Make sure that you hit the thumbs up because we're about to cook up some stuff. And while we cook it, I want to make sure everybody is able to make a comment. So let's go on ahead and customize this right quick so that everybody has something to say. First, it was just for you guys that were already subscribed, but we've been on a little bit, so we'll go ahead and change that for you. So what I want you guys to know is there is a rumbling within the pastors and the ministers and all that stuff. I remember we were not allowed to minister if we were going through anything, even if we were going through a divorce and it wasn't our fault. We were not allowed to minister at all. Our pastor used to make us have several seats. And it worked out because a lot of us, sort of understood that it just wasn't the type of place to be. There were pastors who in the past, and we're going to start with those slow stories. There were pastors in the past who would sleep with the parishioners in the church. Then you would hear about pastors in the church having relations with people that were just like them. These are the kinds of things that I am referencing. And these are the kinds of things that were going on at the Olympics in that opening. But see, I think the problem is people don't want stuff in their face. They would rather just imagine it, right? They would just rather imagine that these are the things that are going on, and they don't want anybody to tell them to be any wiser. They don't want nobody to tell them nothing. So let's get into this story right here, because it's a pastor out in Houston, just to show you that the immorality just does run deep. It runs very, very deep. There was a Houston pastor that just recently got ordered to pay $2.45 million. Yeah, 2.45. Here it is. Let's see if we can hear it.
For the rest of your life.
Attorney Sean Murphy is speaking for his
pay $2.45 million to a woman that a jury found he gave herpes to.
Tonight, that woman's lawyer is speaking only to our Devin Clark, who's live outside the courthouse where the judgment was granted just this morning. Devin.
Keith, Daniela, that attorney we spoke to, says it was a 3-day trial with 6.5 hours of deliberations. And after that, a jury found Reverend Ralph D. West II liable and ordered that hefty judgment.
Right, it can't fix it. She's got it for the rest of her life.
Attorney Sean Murphy is speaking for his client, who a jury found contracted genital herpes from Reverend Ralph D. West II after meeting off Facebook. As seen here on the Church Without Walls website, he's listed as the Eldridge campus minister.
The things that we look at for cases like these are essentially 4 things. Is the defendant infected, and how can we prove it? Did he know he was infected? And, how do we prove? Do we have evidence of that?
Not only does Murphy say they were able to prove those facts, but also that West lied when asked about having herpes, and that he gave it to his client after they had unprotected sex in March of 2018.
She got an outbreak 2 or 3 days later, went in and got tested, and from there able, through the medical records, able to identify that he was the source of it, in part because she hadn't been with anybody else. She had had a prior negative test.
Murphy says subsequent conversations supported the claims.
When she asks, where did this come from? His response was his son's mother.
He adds there were also emails between West and his client,
where she accuses him of knowing he had it, of giving it to her, and there's other allegations about.
So not only did she find out that he gave it to her, but she also had sent emails to this man, having conversations with him with regards to her now status of her health. And the guy just continued to, say, well, hey, this or that, or this is the person that I caught it from, or this is the issue that I had. Here is my point. This was a man that was involved with a woman that he met online. There's another article that's out here. I'm not sure that we can use it. And so I'm not even going to try it. What I'll tell you to do is look this case up a little bit, and you'll find her interview. All you got to do is put in the Houston pastor that ends up having to pay this $2.45 million, right? And her name will pop up. It's a Fox article that she has, but it's a Fox 26, I think. What she's doing is she is describing how she met him, how he went inside of her DM and he started talking to her. And she said they talked for about a month before they decided to take it to the next step. And then one thing led to another. And she found out that she was positive after they were intimate. Now, according to her, they dated for about a couple of years, right? And so I guess she was feeling like, well, he must be somebody trustworthy because he's still dealing with me after 2 years. Here's the bad part, dear. He's an active pastor on an active role, and you are not seen by anybody around him. So that should tell you what he thinks of you. And then the fact that, as you'll see, he later discloses or didn't deny in the interviews or in the emails what had happened between her and him. He didn't deny it. So that's the reason why he got to pay the money. But this is the church. My question is, why are Christians angry at the Olympics? The mirror must not be treating you too good.
Not caring about me, that kind of thing.
The response, Murphy says, was telling.
He never once denied that he had it or that he knew he had it.
West declined to comment. Murphy says his client does feel a sense of relief and vindication, but aside from that $2.45 million she was granted, she hopes that this story sends a clear message to anyone who knowingly puts their partner at risk for STDs. Reporting live outside of the Harris County Civil Courthouse, Devin Clark, KPRC 2 News.
All right,
See, the bad part about it is that we're actually putting it in the sense of just, you should let your partner know. Not, hey, wait a minute. If you're supposed to be following the Bible, why wouldn't you make this woman a wife? Why do you have herpes in the first place? If you are supposed to be a man of God, why are you running around with that? Your last wife gave it to you, or you gave it to, however it happened. A gentleman would be a gentleman and say, you know what, I'm not going to be with anybody until I get this under control. And I'm not going to be with anybody until I'm married. And I'm not going to be with anybody without disclosing to them that this is what I have prior to getting in, physically engaged with them. But that's a regular cat. Doesn't the man of God, doesn't Reverend Porkchop, doesn't he have to have a higher set of standards? I don't know. I'm just asking. I'm just here to ask the questions. Let's take a gander at this cat, shall we? Yeah, we shall. Let's take a look at him. Let's take a look at him. Here he is, right here. Here he is. I'm just trying to understand how come, why the Christians are angry. Here he is, Reverend Ralph D. West II. Reverend Douglas West II. Reverend Douglas West II is a native of Houston, Texas. He graduated from Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia, and George W. Truett Theological Seminary of Baylor University with a master's in theological studies. At each of these distinguished institutions, he was able to do in-depth study in the areas of apologetics, Black liberation, or liberation, and theology, as well as leadership. Ralph has a passion for preaching and teaching the word of God, a heart for God's people. He is a campus minister at the Church Without Walls, where his father, Ralph D. West, is the pastor founder. Reverend West gives leadership to the Eldridge campus and serves as chair of the advisory team for the IC3 Church Growth and Development Center. Ralph II is a member of the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity and the proud father of Ralph D. West III. All right, so there's that. I don't know. I don't know. I try my best just to sort of, like laugh it off. But to be honest with you, from a person who's, come from a ministry family, a person who's obviously gone to Bible college, obviously have, doctorate of divinity and all, it just makes me upset. It makes me upset because even though we've learned and gotten more information and more knowledge and taken the Bible and used several other lost books of the Bible, the existing books of the Bible that tells you more than you would ever think if you just stopped and studied for a second. The Bible that you have, you don't need any other books if you just take the Bible that you have and just study that and study it correctly. So for a person like myself who has been in ministry majority of my life, I'm not perfect. I don't want y'all sitting up and telling me, I ain't perfect by no stretch of the imagination. I'm a real down-to-earth person who gets it. But this right here, I don't get. I don't get it. And I don't get it because I was made to understand that when you are not right, you sit down. Ain't nothing wrong with going through some struggles. Ain't nothing wrong with it, but you don't stay in leadership while you're going through struggles. You don't. I'm going to say this, and those out there that may be watching the replay or even watching right now, if you understand, you understand. One of the things that really help you while you are in ministry and you are going through some really bad times, if you are a psalmist like myself, or if you're a musician, is being able to get our gift out. Because as we're singing those healing words, as we're singing up praises to Yah, as we're going out and we're going forward, and we're just like Judah going in first before everything else comes behind us, you feel that spirit of liberation. You feel all of the chains and everything that you put on yourself because of your deeds falling off. And then the stuff that others have done to you where you are under their control, you feel it. And it feels great to know that all you got to do is lift up your voice, and there he is. But here's the problem. There are a lot of individuals who are in the churches right now that do not feel any shame about walking their life out that way and still calling themselves a Christian, or still aligning themselves with the quote unquote word or the quote unquote Bible. Here's what I say. Align yourself up with what you believe and then rock that. But don't call it the Bible. Don't call it, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, and all of that. Don't call it the book. Call it what you want to call it. The train wreck happens when you decide to align yourself with the book that even sinners want to get close to. And see, the one thing you can't do, you can't fool none of them, baby. Because one thing about a sinner, a person who's rocking their life, okay, and they are seriously out there gang banging, out there doing all kinds of stuff, those individuals don't have any problem at all telling a pastor or somebody that they can smell their BS, that they can see it. Yeah, that part. That part. We'll be right back after these messages.